Daily Broadside Day 645. Last night I stayed up till like 2:30 in the morning because of some dead teachers. That sounds like a weird thing, but what I mean by that is I got to thinking last night, probably like 8, 9 o'clock. God, I spent like 6 hours on this project. I say project, it was really just a big waste of time, time-filling waste of time. But I got to thinking about a 6th grade science teacher that I had who I was like, man, like I would have been like 12 or 13. And she seems like she would have been like 70. And I'm like, teachers in this state only have to teach for like 30 years and they can retire. I'm like, if she was 70, she didn't start teaching when she was 40. Like, none of it made any sense. So I take to the obituaries and let my fingers do the walking through the old interwebs there, and I start looking for her, but I cannot for the life of me remember her first name. She had a very distinct last name, but I could not remember her first name. It's going to hit me one of these days. Like, in the next 48 hours, I'm going to sit up in bed at 4 a.m. and be like, aha, Wilhelmina, or, whatever it was. And so finally, I'm just like, I can't think of it. And I can't find it on Google. It's not telling me what I want to know. And so I go in the other room and I hunt down my my middle school yearbooks, the annuals as they call them. That's a dumb name for it. Just stick to yearbook. And Liberaño. And so I flip through there, and it's a middle school, so there's not that much stuff going on, right? So the whole what do you call it? The staff page is 2 pages, right? You open it up, all the staff are right there, and she's nowhere to be found. So I go get like the 6th grade one, nowhere to be found. I get the 8th grade one, none of them. She's not in any of them. And I thought to myself, Now, she was not a very well-liked teacher, and although I saw her years after I left 6th grade, after I went, halfway through high school, I ran into her somewhere and she was just as pleasant as can be. But at 6th grade, we were oil and water. Like, I got into so much trouble with that woman and we just did not get along. Nevertheless, she could have been the best teacher on earth. I would have never given her the chance because I was, 12. And I was dead set and hell bent on causing her grief. Well, anyway, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, why is she not in there? And then I thought to myself, I was like, wait a minute. Neither is the PE teacher and the coach, whatever he was. Nobody liked him either. And there was another teacher that was in there. And I'm like, man, so basically these people know that they're not well liked by the middle school body. And so they presumably don't put their picture in there because they know that people are just going to draw a mustache on you and, devil horns and, make fun of you and scratch your face off and all that stuff with a pencil. And I'm like, okay. Still can't figure out who she is. But nevertheless, so then I got to thinking, so then I went down a rabbit hole and I got up at 5 a.m. and I went to bed around 2:30. Now, what was I doing all that time for 5.5 freaking hours last night? It's embarrassing that I even spent this much time. I obituaried, which is a verb. I obituaried like the entire staff, and I'm talking janitors, custodians, cafeteria staff, the counselors, the secretary, like everybody. I went through all their obituaries because I was like, these people I'm looking at their picture and I'm like, these people all seem like they're like 50 years old. And they kind of were. They were all like my age. They were in their like low to mid. They were like 40 to 50, the majority of them. There weren't any like 24-year-old hot teachers right out of teacher school, They're all like midlife people like me teaching. So it would be like me right now teaching a 7th grader about U.S. history, which I could do. I got no problem with that. But I'm thinking to myself, man, the things that I know right now, just about life and how it works, and the times that I've been around 12 and 13-year-olds, and you're just like, you have no idea what you're talking. Like, it really is amazing that, you thought they were dumb, But what I learned from it last night is that basically I was taught by a huge series of people that were in like church choirs, handbell choir, Sunday school teachers. They all went to church. Now, I'm in the South, so there's that. But it ain't all Baptist. It's Presbyterian, Methodist. It's all over the place. But, I'm reading their obituary, and it's like, that she was a proud member of of, Sanctimonious Grove Methodist Baptist Church, whatever. And they were all in these churches, right? And I'll tell you another thing, how seventh graders are, right? Like, we thought, like, a couple of them might have, batted for the other team, as it were, just for obvious reasons, but the way they looked, or, what we were just being dumb about it and all that stuff. But then you're reading, you're like, and she's survived by a husband. I'm like, okay, she was married. Who knew? Me and my seventh grade friends would have never, we would have lost that bet, But it is interesting, that, and I don't understand, like, one of my science teachers in seventh grade, he paddled me twice, and man, he was an angry man. He was an old black man, and he drove a New Yorker, a Chrysler New Yorker. He had like a new one every year, the thing with like the fake tire, or the tire on the trunk and all. It's just a hideous car. But he dressed to the nines. Like he had like tuxedo, basically. I mean, he had like the cummerbund and the vest and all these fancy purple ties and all that stuff. Old as crap. I looked it up and I was like, man, that dude had to be old, right? Well, I found his obituary. He also was not in the thing. I just happened to find him. But he knew he was probably the most unliked in the entire school. But he was, when he taught me, 68 years old. He was born in like 1920. And this is like 87, 88 when he's teaching me. 68. And he died at like 82 or something like that, And I'm like, damn, that's just strange. I mean, there's nothing wrong with somebody at 68 teaching school. I got no problem with that. It's just odd that, you think of, your formative years and the teachers, being older than you, but not so substantially. I mean, the dude was 53, 55 years older than me. Like, that's insane. And he taught for several more. I think he retired when I was like, 10th or 11th grade. So he taught till he was like 72 or something. It's pretty cool. I like the cut of his jib, although he did paddle me. And, yeah, but anyway, I don't know. But, so I'm like mildly tired today because I sat up, and looked up a bunch of dead teachers. And, I guess what I'm getting at with all this nonsense is the fact that, it's sad that you treat people, the wrong way out of your own sheer ignorance, because I'm sure I caused a lot of those teachers. I mean, some of them are cool, but for whatever reason, if if they rub you the wrong way and you're a teenage dick, you're going to make their life hell as much as you can. And it just didn't seem like, looking at their picture in death and then, remembering them as the person who gave you homework on the weekends, they were still like, humans. And they seem to be, from all intents and purposes of what I read last night for 5.5 hours, pretty decent people, So I just want to apologize, not to the grave, I guess to the grave, to all the dead teachers that I annoyed and made you do more work than you really needed to do that day. It should have been a lot easier, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about today. And so you can put that in your pipe and smoke it. Hey, Giddy.